And just so that you know, everything that happens here, and when I take a picture, what happens in this space ends up on Facebook. So you ready? And if any of you are in the witness protection program, duck. Ready? Cheese. You weren't smiling. And you blinked. We'll do it again. Always gotta be, it's like Christmas. Somebody's gotta blink. Cheese. Oh, the choir, don't feel bad. Okay, we'll do it together. No one gets left out. We love the choir. We are one family, aren't we? And I promised that we would start on time, and we're going to, because we actually have a timekeeper this evening, and we don't want to make Stephanie mad. We do have a full program this evening, and to keep us on schedule, just so everybody knows, there will be no Q&A during the meeting, so please hold your questions to the end, or drop us an email, or even better yet, stay after the presentation, and any member will be here to answer your questions. Those of us from Together Colorado, we're your friends, we're your neighbors, and we want to include you, make you feel heard, and get you involved. Raise your hand if you're happy to be here together in person. It's a great feeling. And for those of you on Zoom, we love you too. My name is Tam Paquette, and I'm from the Namakwa Unitarian Universalist Church. That's my pastor. Everybody loves Laurel. I'm going to be your facilitator this evening, and I support Together Colorado because they weren't willing to waste any time waiting for somebody else to solve the crisis of homelessness. Just like our distinguished guests this evening and community leaders here, Miguel Wheeler, State Representative Basenecker will be videoing in tonight. Loveland's Mayor Jacky Marsh, the people's mayor, Commissioner Jody Shattuck McNally, Darcy Mcclure of the St. Valentine's Day Project and Blue Line Development, Christine Edwards of Together, Laura Walker, who is the director of Larimer County's Health and Human Services, Kelly Pryor and Summer Garcia from Northern Colorado's Continuum of Care. How's my volume? Am I too loud? Because I'm usually told to shut up. I'm okay? Wow, that's a first. Awesome. Also, we want to thank all of the service providers in our community that are doing good work. I want to take a quick moment to just give some love and thank our interfaith combined choir and all of our faith leaders this evening. Reverend Tundiway, Dale Ferguson of Loveland's First Congregational Church, Reverend Laurel Leifert from the Namakwa Unitarian Universalists. You already met her because she's cool. The exceptional Reverend Amy Morgan, thank you for allowing us to gather tonight in this gorgeous historical sanctuary of the First United Presbyterian Church, and her amazing son Dean, who is tonight's Techmeister. We know everything's going to go perfectly because they're all under 20. And to the whole Together Colorado team, and I'm just going to run this list down because we're not all here, but we're all here in spirit. Virginia Bunning, Christine Cervena, Deb DeDecker, she's the lady you met up front. Bob Doolittle, Amy Smith Edwards, Reverend Chuck Hubbard, Jude Mattoon, love you Jude, enjoy your vacation, you should be here. Carl McAsh, me. Dick Resnick, Doug Stewart, Ginger Treadwell, where's my Ginger? There's my Ginger, and Judy Wright. Thank you to our timekeeper, Stephanie Sylvie. We have a very full program this evening, and she's going to keep us on track, so we ask that the audience please hold your questions to the end. And just a quick plug, like I said before, after the event, she's playing at the Poor House next door at 9 o'clock. You're welcome. I know, it's church. And to our distinguished speakers, Stephanie will raise her yellow card when you have 30 seconds remaining, and the red card means your time is up, so thank you for doing your part to keep us on time. And now, to start our program, my very dear friends, Carl McAsh and Doug Stewart of Together Colorado.
We got to do the opening prayer.
I'm not under 20, so it won't be perfect. It's time for an opening prayer. Wasn't it right? Wait a minute, Sam!
Last minute changes.
Good evening. I'm Rev Amy Morgan, the pastor here at First United Presbyterian Church, and we are so honored to be hosting this public meeting this evening and welcome all of you here tonight. If you didn't hear Tam's announcement at the beginning, if you do need the facilities throughout the meeting, you don't need a pass, you can just go. There's one up here in the back of our fellowship hall or down these stairs on the east side. There's another one right at the bottom of the stairs. I invite you to hear how our faith community understands our work tonight. The stories of many faith traditions teach us that we are connected to all of humanity, all creation, in what author Barbara Brown Taylor calls a luminous web of relationships. We all depend on one another, we are all affected by one another, and we are all responsible for each other. And so as people of faith, when we consider the challenges and the needs and the hopes of our neighbors who are unhoused, we are recognizing the truth of our interconnectedness. The Torah commands, love your neighbor as yourself. And Jesus taught his followers that this is part of the greatest commandment. The Hindu writings instruct, this is the sum of duty. Do not to others what you would not have them do unto you. The Quran teaches, do good to parents, kinfolk, orphans, those in need, neighbors who are near, neighbors who are strangers, the companion by your side, the wayfarer you meet. And a Buddhist teaching says, hurt not others with that which pains yourself. We are not here tonight to advocate for a hand up or a hand out. We are here tonight because we recognize that we live hand in hand. What happens to our neighbors matters to all of us. The way we treat our neighbors impacts our whole community. We are here because every life has dignity and infinite worth. And when everyone's basic needs are met, we are more whole as a society. Thank you all for being here tonight, for recognizing our place in this luminous web of relationships that binds us all together. Thank you for loving our neighbors and for joining hands to care for those in our community who are unhoused.
Good evening. My name is Tundiwe Dale Ferguson, and I just want to echo the thanks that you've already heard for your being here this evening. I invite you to join me in a spirit of prayer, whatever that looks like for you. Let us be in that spirit together. Gracious One, you are as near to us as our breath. And like our breath, you connect us to all those around us, all of those in this space, all of those in this town, all of those in this community, indeed with all of your creation. You have created us to care for one another and for the flourishing of all. And so tonight, as we gather, we pray for those in our community, our neighbors, who are lacking the simple human dignity of a place to call home, a safe place to rest, protection from the elements. Empower us tonight to effect changes in our city that will create a more just and compassionate society. We pray that we may one day see when homelessness is brief and temporary, because appropriate resources and interventions have been employed to live hand in hand with those who are currently unhoused in our community. Gracious One, we pray for our civic leaders, for Mayor Jacky and our city council members, Richard, Patrick, Dana, Andrea, John, Steve, John, and Dawn. We pray for our county commissioners, John, Kristen, and Jody, for our state legislators, our governor, Jared, and all public servants. Grant them wisdom, Holy God, and compassion. Give them a heart for servant leadership. Inspire them to hear the needs of their most vulnerable and disempowered constituents. Empower them to advocate for policies that bring the thriving of all people in our state and community. We lift up all of the faith communities here in Loveland. Open our hearts, Holy God, so that we may open our doors to our neighbors, so that we may act with compassion and generosity. Help us to recognize that we exist for the sacred purpose of caring for others. And may we bear witness to your love for all creation and your particular concern for those in greatest need. Finally, gracious one, we pray for your spirit of collaboration. We give thanks that you have brought us, people of faith, community leaders, and nonprofit entities together tonight. Help us to work on solutions to the complex and yet very basic challenges faced by our neighbors who are unhoused. Open our ears to listen, open our eyes to see, open our minds to understand, open our hearts to discern faithfully, and our lives to act boldly. This we pray for the sake of the luminous web of community of which we are a part. Let the gathered say amen. Amen.
Thank you both for that. Hi, everybody. I'm Carl Mickish. This is Doug Stewart. We are members of Together Colorado. These are not paid positions. These are volunteer. We're all volunteers up here, and so we are so grateful that you're all here tonight. I think it says a lot about your hearts, and I'd love to see just the service providers out here as well, so thank you. We're going to take a few minutes to provide an overview of tonight's meeting and hopefully orient us all a little bit to the problems of homelessness. Overall tonight, we're going to celebrate the progress we've made over the last 2 years. Intermixed with all of that is an attempt to educate all of us on the complexity of homelessness. And tonight we will also be advocating to close gaps in the needs for our unhoused neighbors, as well as make suggestions on how we move forward as a community.
As Carl said, my name is Doug Stewart, and I'm another volunteer member of Together Colorado. I'll spend just a slide to talk about Together Colorado. Together Colorado is a statewide, multi-faith, social action organization, and we formed a local branch. We focus on systemic change. We focus, rather than doing direct service, we focus on trying to influence policy, regulations, state law, for the betterment of and dignity of every single person. So with the intersection of our various faiths that we represent. In 2017, a group of us met together and here in Loveland, and we mainly from 4 churches. Those are the First United Presbyterian Church, where we're meeting, St. John the Evangelist Catholic Parish, First Congregational Church, and Namaqua Unitarian Universalist Congregation, along with several members who were unaffiliated. And we always welcome additional members. So if you're interested, please check us out. In 2018, we received feedback. We went out and got feedback from about 500 of our neighbors and friends, and about what their concerns were in our neighborhoods. And a couple things floated to the top. One that we thought we could make a difference on was homelessness. And so in 2019, we held our first the only other public meeting we've had on homelessness. And we had quite a number of attendees. The Mayor Jacky was there, 4 city council members. We wanted, as we do in this meeting, wanted to just raise awareness in our faith voice. And we had some proposals that we wanted to make sure that the community understood, such as needing to coordinate all the various services with a lead agency that are given to the homeless.
So our goal is pretty simple, but pretty big. And it's really that everyone be housed. A home isn't just a shelter. It provides safety and security so that one can rest, stay clean, and ultimately dream to have a chance at living fully. A home is where all of this begins.
As an introduction, systemically address homelessness, let's watch a short video brought to us by our friends at Community Solutions.
Can you imagine living in a community that has solved homelessness? A world where when an emergency arises, a person can get the support they need to remain in housing. And if they ever lose their home, they are moved into housing quickly by a system that knows them and what they need. Homelessness is rare, brief when it happens, and never becomes a way of life. The truth is, we don't have to just imagine it. In the Gulf Coast region of Mississippi, any veteran who becomes homeless is connected to housing within 30 days of identification. No one's left behind. And can you imagine living in a community that has solved homelessness? A world where when an emergency arises, a person can get the support they need to remain in housing. And if they ever lose their home, they are moved into housing quickly by a system that knows them and what they need. Homelessness is rare, brief when it happens, and never becomes a way of life. The truth is, we don't have to just imagine it. In the Gulf Coast region of Mississippi, any veteran who becomes homeless is connected to housing within 30 days of identification. No one's left behind. And they aren't the only ones. Across the country, communities in Built for Zero are proving that homelessness is solvable. They do it by shifting their methodology and their mindset. First, they build a single team that is accountable for ending homelessness across the community. Who's responsible for ending homelessness in your community? The truth is, many stakeholders hold a piece of the solution, but no one has their eye on how the pieces fit together. In Built for Zero communities, everyone who serves the population works together to align their collective efforts behind a shared goal. Second, they commit to a shared aim of ending homelessness. Often, success for those working on homelessness is defined by how their individual programs perform. Built for Zero communities measure progress by whether they are collectively driving down the number of people experiencing homelessness. Their goal is to reach functional zero, a dynamic milestone that ensures homelessness stays rare and brief. Are fewer people experiencing homelessness than can be routinely housed? Once they reach functional zero for veterans or people experiencing chronic homelessness, they work to sustain it and scale that learning to the next population until their systems are built to end homelessness for all. Third, they know everyone experiencing homelessness by name and in real time. You can't solve a problem that you can't see, and homelessness is a dynamic problem that is constantly changing. But it's often tracked using an annual anonymous street count, which is just a snapshot. To end homelessness, a community needs a video. Built for Zero communities maintain by-name data on who's experiencing homelessness in real time. They understand not only every individual's needs, but the dynamics of the population as a whole. They know who is entering homelessness, who is actively experiencing it, and who is exiting it. That way, they can target where systems can be improved, test new ideas, and track whether their efforts are actually driving numbers down. Finally, they make data-driven targeted investments. Expanding housing resources is crucial, but many cities have dramatically done so without making a dent in homelessness. The reason? They never fixed the housing system. Real-time data enables communities to secure and target housing resources to drive the greatest possible reductions in homelessness. Homelessness is a big and complex problem, but it's not too big or complex to be solved. While it affects those who experience it in the deepest way, it affects less than 1% of the population. Communities can build systems that continually eliminate it and ensure everyone has a place to call home and live with dignity. We can take steps together toward a future where homelessness being rare and brief is the norm, not the exception. Is your community a part of it?
By Community Solutions. They are a national organization whose mission it is to create a lasting end to homelessness. Northern Colorado, through the continuum of care, both Larimer and Weld counties, is one of 98 communities in the nation that participates in their Built for Zero program that we're talking about here. We're grateful to Community Solutions, not only for the use of this video tonight, but also for providing meaningful best practices to our community to make a lasting impact. So now we're going to move from the 30,000-foot view to a more local view. Loveland and Larimer County, right here, and what we're doing and what can be done. To illustrate, as the video mentioned, we want to reduce the inflow into being actively homeless. The idea is to protect affordable housing. Tonight we're going to hear from Representative Bazenecker on legislation to protect mobile home parks. Additionally, there's the constant need to provide support services to assist neighbors to stay in their homes. These include services such as rent aid, education, employment help, and mental health services. On this side of the equation, you might think of Neighbor to Neighbor, who we have here tonight, who are providing rent aid across the state right now.
Unfortunately, some people do fall into homelessness. How do we address the needs of those who have lost their homes, their place to call home? It begins by having adequate services, and Loveland is fortunate to have many fantastic organizations with dedicated staff and volunteers to meet many of the needs of the homeless. But there are gaps. Loveland needs an emergency shelter when weather threatens life and limb. Work is underway to open congregations' doors when we're in these emergencies. Could your congregation help? We have no youth shelter to help protect some of our most vulnerable. We'll hear more about this tonight from Laura Walker of Larimer County's Health and Human Services and Christine Edwards with Together. In the video, you saw the need to coordinate our many services, putting the pieces of the puzzle together to address homelessness. Mayor Marsh will talk about steps the city is taking to make this coordination possible and expose remaining service gaps. Finally, as we also heard in the video, each person who is homeless is in a unique situation. Tonight, you'll hear from the Northern Colorado Continuum of Care about progress in treating each person who is homeless in our region as an individual. Homelessness is not a one-size-fits-all.
And then finally, we're on the right side of the puzzle, where we want to increase the ability to gain housing, to hopefully achieve where being actively homeless in our community is a brief period and not a long-term way of life. We do this by providing new, affordable housing. Mayor Morris and then Darcy Mcclure will speak to some good projects that are happening in our city right now, which are trying to make all of these things happen. There's also the need for cooperative landlords to be willing to work with Northern Colorado's Continuum of Care and to trust that they, as a landlord, will be supported by the social services that are provided to their tenants who are exiting homelessness.
So this is what we're going to convey tonight in our meeting, or hoping to. We can systemically end homelessness by reducing the inflow into homelessness by initiatives such as protecting mobile homes. We can make homelessness safer by addressing the need for an emergency shelter and youth shelter, coordinate our services and treating each person who is homeless on an individual basis. And we can make it easier to find a home by working with landlords to make it easier to take the homeless on as tenants, and by creating affordable housing with supportive services.
So what do we want for our community? We want a community where everyone has an opportunity to be housed, where homelessness is rare, brief when it happens, and never becomes a way of life.
Carl and I have talked about ways that Loveland can systemically put an end to homelessness, where few people go into homelessness, nobody becomes unsafe, and nobody stays homeless for long. Now we move away from the clouds of theory to ground ourselves in what being homeless is really like by hearing the story of one local individual, Miguel Wheeler, who went from being homeless himself to helping those still in need.
My name is Michael Wheeler. I go by Miguel. I've done drugs and alcohol for over 35 years. Out of them past 35 years, I've moved around the line, and a lot of times I've been homeless, and I didn't know what was to expect for the next day. I've been shot twice because of in search of drugs and alcohol. I've robbed, I've stealed, I've lied and cheated. And I've been to jail many, many times. And all this time, I wasn't angry at nobody else. I was angry at myself. And I couldn't forgive myself. God spoke to me in a hospital bed. He told me to straighten my life out and get sober. So I left the hospital and I was sober on the streets for a couple weeks. And then, by God's grace, somebody paid for me to stay at a sober living house. That started to change my life tremendously. I got in touch with AA. I got in touch with churches. Steadily, God was working in His power. I started an outreach ministry through the lighthouse, serving food for the homeless, food and clothes. And it just touches me to do that every week. And I successfully completed the lighthouse, beyond completed it. And now I have my own place. I'm not living on the streets anymore, which is truly miraculous. And I thank God for that. And the only way I can stay sober is to continue helping others and keeping God's word in my heart and soul and praying to Him every day.
not using my cheerleader voice. Bringing to the stage tonight is Miguel Wheeler and Bob Doolittle.
Friends and neighbors, I've known Miguel for about 3 or 4 years. I don't think I'd be here tonight if it weren't for his help, his inspiration to me and my wife, Carol. He's made such a big difference in what we do and who we look at and who we see on the streets. It's incredible. So I've got just a few questions for Miguel, and we're going to see if we can answer some of those for you. Well, first of all, Miguel, how did you become homeless?
Well, I became homeless in 2008. The economy was real bad, and I just kind of gave up. To me, alcohol and drugs were more important than getting a place. And I believed in God, but I didn't have all my faith in him. I actually prayed for him that he would make me one of the best panhandlers there was. And so I spent 5 years in the streets of Fort Collins.
Could you give us an idea? I think some of us know pieces and parts of that. Could you give us an idea what those years were on the streets and being homeless and some of the things you might have gone through?
Oh, I went through some treacherous times. There ain't nothing like getting woke up in the middle of the night and by a police officer telling you, go find another place. I don't want you on this side of town. Or I remember one time, I finally went to jail. I had 30 tickets in the city of Fort Collins. And they was tired of me. They ended up giving me 10 days for all the tickets, which I happily took. It was a rest for a little while. And it was a hassle trying to find a restroom a lot of times. Those are very important to homeless people. And also, other folks looking down on you.
Right now, Miguel's serving about 300 or 400 meals a week in Fort Collins, Loveland, and Greeley, and it's an incredible ministry. Miguel, would you tell us how you got out? I know we alluded to it a little bit in the video, but if you could kind of explain what that process was to get out of homelessness and into your ministry that you do now.
Well, the biggest part that got me out is surrendering to God, because I can't do it on my own. I never could, and I never will be able to. And then being obedient when he put stuff in front of me, I continued to do it. He brought this little homeless ministry to me, and through the years he's made it grow big time. I started with 1 feed, and I'm doing 6 feeds a week now. And all by God's grace. And God supplies everything, which is amazing. He's great. Any more questions? Thank you, Bob.
We have a little something for you, Miguel, and I'm gonna read the insignia on here, and it says, I'm gonna lift that out of there. There we go. It's the Shining Light Award, proudly presented to Miguel Wheeler in recognition of your amazing dedication and service to others in Northern Colorado. We want you to know how much we appreciate you and all of you and all that you've done. April of 2022, Together Colorado helped put this together. And so. It's heavy. One great person right here, folks. Thanks. We're ready.
Okay, that wrecked me. Surrender. Okay, so let's talk about concentric circles of success. Miguel is an individual success story. A person who experienced homelessness and now helps them. Then let's see a city's success story. Loveland's Mayor Jacky and Darcy Mcclure will tell us about a local effort to create more affordable housing with supportive services. Come on up, Mayor. Then we'll hear about a regional success story, the Continuum of Care, which operates in both Larimer and Weld counties. And then finally, we'll talk about a national success story with a brief video from Community Solutions, setting the best practices in addressing homelessness. The People's Mayor, Mayor Jacky.
Yeah, you said, oh, about 7. Okay, thank you. Want to thank Together Colorado and the First Presbyterian Church and all of you for being here and showing your heart for our community. I'll do a disclaimer. You know, I'm representing myself as one of 9 people on council, so some of my opinions might not be shared by council as a whole. I just want to let you know that, you know, you're welcome to talk to each of us and get each of our opinions. And I'll start with my opinion that I believe homelessness, the #1 cause, is a lack of affordable housing. And I would urge us not to blame the homeless for being homeless. There are many, many reasons. Each person has an individual story, whether it's childhood trauma, whether it was a catastrophic illness. There's all kinds of reasons. And blaming homeless does not solve homelessness. So we need affordable housing. Yeah, thank you. So, you know, I would say that, you know, I've seen an evolution, my time on council. I think, you know, 5 years ago, we had the perception that our faith-based community, our nonprofit, would be able to solve this. I think there's more of an awareness that this is going to be a whole city team approach, that we are all in this together, and it's going to take some creative ways to solve the problem, you know, and there's a lot of ideas out there. So I think that, you know, part of my was supposed to educate, you know, what the city of Loveland hired Barnes, Barnes Center about 2019 to analyze our current homeless situation and gaps in services, gaps in ways to help people. And they made several recommendations. We put out an RFP, a request for proposal, COVID hit. So everything was kind of put on hold, and in 2021, July of 2021, we signed Homeward Alliance as our partner to help us identify, as your first video showed, you have to have data. Who are your homeless? What are the needs of your homeless? So Homeward Alliance is going to help us with that, and very excited about that. I want to pause here just to recognize Allison Haid with the City of Loveland, who has done an incredible job. An absolutely incredible job. So we are moving forward, and for those in our community that are very concerned about the encampment that we have at King's Crossing, it is a very large encampment of homeless people. We will be addressing that at City Council Tuesday night under the City Manager's report. So please know that Council is aware, and we all want to have that discussion. So things that we are doing or have done, we partner with the Loveland Housing Authority, which they do an amazing job building multifamily units. We partner with Habitat for Humanity, which builds homes to be owned. We have recently partnered with a company called the Aspen Homes, and it's a pilot program. And what that is we give a lot of fee waivers to people willing to build affordable housing, to cut the cost to build significantly. With Aspen Homes, we're trying a trial. We're saying for a block of 5 homes, we're going to give you those fee waivers on every one of those homes, and you can apply them to one. So you may have 4 market rate homes and then one that is very affordable. And they will all be looked at the same. They will all be the same quality. So it's a pilot program, a little too soon to know how it's coming out, but it's something that we are trying. We have built the Edge with Loveland Housing Authority, the Edge Apartments. If you're familiar with 34 right off Boyd Lake there, and one of our primary targets was our homeless veterans. So that has been expanded. We have partnered with Grace Gardens, a church kind of off of 287, unique partnership in that the church basically sold the land at cost, so a very big reduction, and then a partnership with both Loveland Housing Authority and about 120 multifamily residences, and 47 homes will be built by Habitat for Humanity. So a great example of a partnership to make housing affordable. We've also partnered with Catholic Charities to build the first kind of wraparound service housing in Loveland. It will be apartments that will be near our courts, 10th and Monroe, and it will have supportive services, wraparound supportive services. There will be help there 24/7. Help on addiction, help on jobs, help on, how do you manage your checking account? How do you get to doctors? How do you get vision care, dental care? So it's a big step for Loveland. Some would say long overdue, but it's exciting. It's very exciting. I believe, if I'm looking at Allison, I think that's going to be built in about 18 months. And then we are looking at a project that Longmont has called Greenspire. And what it is it's a first step out of homelessness. They're small units, about 350 square feet. And it's intended for people that have low barriers, that their lift out of homelessness is not a great need, whereas the Valentine Apartments is for people that have a great need. It's a great barrier to housing for those. So it's kind of like looking at homelessness from a few different avenues. Let's see. I was asked to give you some idea of kind of some of the funding we have. We get about $380,000 a year in CDBG monies. Oh, 30 seconds. I am not going to finish this. Okay. Some exciting things from our trip to DC last month. Some youth vouchers that are available to children that are aging out of foster care if they're within 90 days of aging out. So that's something we are going to explore. And then the other one was home investment partnership programs, which require a population of 500,000. If you combine Weld and Larimer, we're about 723. So another avenue to explore. I'm out of time. Thank you.
A successful mayor with a big heart. We are America's sweetheart city. Could we please come on up, Darcy Mcclure from St. Valentine's Permanent Supportive Housing and Blue Line Development.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you for having me here. My name is Darcy, and I have the pleasure of working for Blue Line Development, and we develop affordable housing in 5 states, and we have the honor of working alongside Archdiocesan Housing, also known as Catholic Charities, to build the first standalone permanent supportive housing development in Loveland. And so Together Colorado asked me to come up here tonight and tell you a little bit about, just what the heck is permanent supportive housing. So PSH, also known as supportive housing, is the single best proven solution to ending chronic homelessness in our country. And chronic homelessness is defined as someone who is experiencing long-term homelessness and who is experiencing at least one disability. Supportive housing typically is 35 to 60 small apartments located in one building. At St. Valentine, we will have 54 apartments, mostly one bedrooms. And the apartments are rented to 1- and 2-person households who have income no more than 30% of the area median income. So what does that mean, right? In Loveland, if you're a 1-person household, 30% of the AMI is about $23,000 per year. For a household of 2, it's about $26,000 per year. And everyone who lives in supportive housing at St. Valentine will have incomes mostly far below that level, just to give you an idea. Supportive housing, what do we mean by support services? Well, at St. Valentine Apartments and at many PSH developments across the country, that means very specific types of services to help people in their situations. That includes medical care, mental health services, substance abuse treatment programs, and access to education and employment services. We know through the National Alliance to End Homelessness that the permanent supportive housing model is a proven method. Since 2007, it has reduced chronic homelessness in this country by 30%. We know that on average, in the United States, it costs the taxpayer about $36,000 a year to pay for people who are going to jail and who are being hospitalized and who are going to the emergency department because they are homeless. We know that PSH can cut that number in half. So permanent supportive housing is not only a great economic solution, I would put out there that it is the loving and humane solution to an issue that affects all of us. Thank you.
Something that just occurred to me is how often do you hear the word homelessness with the word solutions? We're hearing a lot of that tonight, and that just gives me tremendous hope. I hope it's giving you that same feeling too. Significant progress has been made right here in Loveland despite a pandemic. And as we continue to move ahead, at this moment, could we just recognize Kelly Pryor and Summer Garcia? Where are you? Could you just stand and let us love you? Love you. They're from Continuum of Care. Now, how we have a slide for Continuum of Care. While we've made significant progress, there are still gaps in the services that we provide, and you'll hear more about those needs tonight and what we can do about them. The Continuum of Care provides and promotes community-wide commitment to the goal of ending homelessness. The program provides funding for efforts by nonprofit providers and state and local governments to quickly rehouse individuals and families while minimizing the trauma and dislocation caused to homeless individuals, families, and communities by homelessness. The program promotes access to and affects utilization of mainstream programs by homeless individuals and families, and the program optimizes self-sufficiency among individuals and families experiencing homelessness. Now, prior to 2 years ago, there was only one continuum of care designed for the entire state of Colorado. Then they broke it into 4 locations: Northern Colorado, Weldon, Larimer counties, Denver, Southern Colorado, and rural Colorado. This is significant because as a result of involved grant writing, HUD federal funds are now specifically allocated to our 2 counties because we were recognized as having a unique need, awarding Weld and Larimer counties autonomous status. Continuum of Care also coordinates the rapid rehousing. It's a program using vouchers to move people who are actively homeless into housing. They also work closely with Community Solutions and their Built for Zero program, specifically managing a confidential list which identifies people who are homeless and what those needs are, thus coordinating care to make this period of their lives brief and temporary versus a long-term way of life. Continuum of Care works closely with Community Solutions using their playbook and our Northern Colorado region gains many of our ideas for best practices from Community Solutions. Dale, roll video, please. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Melanie Dickinson from Community Solutions and Built for Zero. There is a quote that society can be judged by how it treats its most marginalized and vulnerable members. We want to congratulate Northern Colorado for being so committed to measurably and equitably ending homelessness. Today's gathering is proof that you have truly built a community-wide team where everyone is working together to support those experiencing homelessness. Since joining Built for Zero, Northern Colorado now has real-time quality data to measure homelessness and is on the path to reaching functional zero for veterans as a first milestone to ending all homelessness. We are grateful to each of you who are committed to supporting this cause. America's diverse faith communities have long responded to the day-to-day needs of those experiencing homelessness. These efforts have filled a pressing need for our most marginalized neighbors. And we know that this is true in Northern Colorado as well. We now have the opportunity to not only help our neighbors, but to rewrite the trajectory of this problem and reject that this problem has to exist at all. We can knit together a community that is dedicated to not just helping more people, but to making homelessness itself a rare and brief experience in Colorado. We're grateful for your commitment and for being part of this movement to build a healthier, more equitable society. Thank you.
Beautiful. We could take a moment right now, and Sam and our gorgeous community choir, interfaith choir. I didn't mess it up this time, did I?
I don't think so.
No? Okay. I'm over 20, so that's why I'm not perfect.
It's okay, I am too. Good evening, everyone. My name is Samuel Gray. I'm the director of music here at First United Presbyterian Church. And we were supposed to prepare a second mass choir piece for us to perform tonight. But instead, I think the best choir is all of you. So would you please take out a purple hymnal and go to hymn number 339. And my wife and I are going to play piano and our wonderful oldest organ in Colorado in our sanctuary. And we encourage you all to stand and sing. That number again is number 339.
Please be seated. Oh, I wish you could have been standing where I was standing. You sounded wonderful, really wonderful. My name is Chuck Hubbard. I live here in Loveland. I am a pastor in the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America, as is Andrew Bazenecker. I'm looking over here. I can't believe you're here. It's just wonderful to have you. We are going to be looking now at what goes on, what has to go on in the future, and that is to fight for affordable housing, particularly a pillar of affordable housing, which is mobile home parks. Andrew has been at the forefront of that fight. Please come and tell us about it, where we are in that battle for your piece of legislation.
Well, thank you, Chuck, and thank you all for what has been, even in the brief time I've been here, just a wonderful, wonderful evening. I would be remiss if I didn't start out by just giving a huge shout out to Together Colorado, who has engaged in this housing space for so long and has supported my work down in the state capitol so well, and I am just so grateful for the support and the advocacy and all that you do on behalf of residents. So if you could join me. My name is State Representative Andrew Bazenecker. I have the pleasure of representing the west half of Fort Collins in the state legislature. That's House District 53. So this session, we have really been focusing in on affordable housing in general. So a lot of the state federal relief dollars have been flowing in, and we've been working on ways that we can find transformative change in the space of affordable housing in different communities to really invest those one-time dollars in a way that really move the needle on affordable housing in our communities. My responsibility within this conversation, however, really dating back to June, has been mobile home parks, specifically protections for mobile home park residents. So you might be aware, you might not be aware. Mobile home residents are in a really precarious place when it comes to their affordable housing situation. First of all, mobile home parks represent the largest source of unsubsidized affordable housing in the state of Colorado. It is incredibly expensive to build new affordable housing, if not impossible in some locations. We have a vested interest as a state and as communities to make sure that mobile home parks are preserved and that folks who buy into mobile home parks enjoy that same generational wealth that comes with home ownership that I enjoy and that some of you might enjoy as well. Mobile home residents, as I like to say, enjoy half of the American dream. They own their home, but they don't own the land that that home sits on. And as you can imagine, things like changes of ownership of parks or lot rent increases can really create an unstable situation for mobile home park residents. What we've been looking to do this session, and there's a bill that I want you to remember because it's House Bill 1287. It's going to be in the Senate here on Monday in a committee hearing, and we'll need your help with that. I can get to that in just a second. But what House Bill 1287 would do is a couple key things for mobile home park residents. First, it builds out the opportunity to purchase window. So right now, if you own a home in a mobile home park and your park owner decides to sell that park, you have 90 days to organize a multi-million-dollar transaction with your neighbors in order to put together an offer that your park owner might consider. As you can imagine, if we tried to broker a multi-million-dollar deal in this room, starting, say, now, it might be difficult to do that in 90 days, right? We seek to blow that out to 180 days to give park residents a fair shot at putting an offer forward on their park. In addition, we're going to offer a right of first refusal for public entities. So park residents like yourself could take that opportunity to purchase right and assign it to a local entity, a public entity. That could be a city, it could be a county, it could be a housing authority. That public entity, of course, can say no thank you, but we know from Larimer County's efforts and the city of Fort Collins' efforts that these entities want to preserve this affordable housing because once it's gone forever. A right of first refusal will allow a public entity to step into that space, of course, let the park owner name their price, and preserve that affordable housing for their community in perpetuity. It is an invaluable tool for park residents to know that they have a shot at owning their own park or that their interests will be represented by an organization that wants to preserve that affordable housing and isn't driven by profit or other motives in that space. What happens when your park closes or they change use? Right now in the state of Colorado, you get 12 months notice and that's it. You can move your home, maybe, if they can be moved. Most of them can't. or if you can afford to, we know they cost about $5,000 to $10,000 to move a manufactured home, a mobile home that could be moved. What we seek to do instead is say, if you, a park owner, intend to change use of that land, the folks who would be impacted by that have a right to the equity in their homes that they've invested in. So that means that they need to compensate you for the fair market value of your home in place. And think about that in place, please. If you live in Boulder, that's incredibly important. North Larimer County, that's incredibly important. Or they need to provide you with a cash payout for your home in lieu of that. There's a lot of other protections as well. 30 seconds, I'm just going to say this. Our AG is wonderful. He is going to step into this space and provide much needed enforcement and jurisdiction. And if a park owner violates that opportunity to purchase process, they will not be able to title that park in the state of Colorado if this bill passes. Please reach out to your senator. That's Rob Woodward if you live in Loveland. If you live in Fort Collins, that's Joanne Janal. If you don't know who your state senator is, ask me. I'll put you in touch. They need to hear from you that we need these protections in Larimer County. Thank you.
I want to thank you for making the long trip up here from Denver. That's wonderful. And now Christine Edwards, who is with TGTHR to end youth homelessness, and Laura Walker, Director of Human and Economic Health Services for Larimer County, are going to come up here. But I just need to give them just a little bit of an idea of what we're dealing with. We became aware of the fact that unaccompanied homeless youth do not have a shelter here in Loveland or in Larimer County, and we are deeply, deeply concerned about that. A social worker with the Thompson School District, Sarah King, has been extremely helpful to us. She put us in contact with your organization, and we had the pleasure of getting to know what you can offer. So we ask you to tell us a little bit about that.
Well, thank you. On a personal note, my grandma's in the back, so if you all could make me look good, that'd be really helpful. Thank you. So I'm with Together, disemboweled, no vowels, TGTHR. So we have been around for 60 years as an organization. Our vision is to make sure that every young person in the country is valued, empowered, and safe. And then our mission is that we are building a movement that galvanizes communities, like yourself, that empowers young people and puts an end to youth homelessness. And we use the same HUD definition as rare, brief, non-recurring. So a little background on us. We were started 60 years ago because young people we're out of Boulder, Colorado. 60 years ago, there was a judge who kept seeing young people coming through his courtroom, and what he had to do was just figure out what was going on with them. And it turns out they were truant, or they were tagging a building. They came into his courtroom, and when he started to dig into their stories, it turns out home was not a safe place to be. And so the only thing that he could do at that point in time was to put them in detention centers. And so a community, very active community, much like this one, decided that these young people didn't need detention, they needed attention, which was our name just a few years ago, Attention Homes. So we operated one of the first foster care programs or group homes in the state of Colorado for about 50 years. And then what we saw was young people coming they exited foster care. They'd come back to our door. They'd knock on our door. They'd say, I don't know anybody. I need a sandwich. I need a blanket. Can you help me? And the answer was no, because we're a child care facility. We literally cannot serve you because of our licensure. And so these young people were ending up homeless for no fault of their own. And so, again, distressed by this reality, a group of folks decided that we were going to change one of our facilities from a group home to a youth shelter. From there, it was exciting. We were out, we were doing street outreach. We were finding young people on the street, usually because of the adult population who had eyes on the street and did not want to see young people go through the same thing that they did. So they were the first ones to tell us when somebody hit the streets. They'd be like, hey, did you check somebody out on the corner of 13th and Pine? Like, it was really amazing. That's our best volunteer community, hands down. But what we realized is even after providing all of these services, there'd be health care, there's behavioral health, there was GED services, making sure that people had emergency shelter, people were still exiting back onto the street because there was no affordable housing whatsoever. And so we were able to partner with an organization, First United Methodist Church of Boulder, and we built the first permanent supportive housing project in the state for transition-aged youth, which is exciting. So that happened in November of 2019, and then everything fell apart in 2020. So it was the most important thing that could have happened for the young people in that building, because they absolutely would have been ousted or would be still reeling from having to pay for rent that was deferred, because we went from a 75% employment rate to almost a 12% employment rate within a week when it came to housing. So when it comes to income. So this population is one of the most vulnerable, period. They're the first ones who are going to lose their jobs. They have the least ability or the least access to housing. This population is unable to sign a lease. They cannot get access to housing, period, because the people who are responsible for their livelihood are probably don't have their best interests at heart. So when we talk about youth homelessness nationally, 1 in 10 youth, so youth is 13 to 17 years old, 1 in 10 youth will, or 1 in 30 youth will endure some form of homelessness within a year. So I don't know if you've paid attention to classroom populations. It's usually about 1 teacher to 30 young people. So in almost every single classroom across the country, there is 1 person experiencing homelessness. 1 in 10 transition-aged youth, so that is 18 to 24-year-olds, 1 in 10 are going to endure homelessness within a year. When people ask what causes it, why do young people become homeless? Please pay attention to this. It's revolting for any of us. So this is a different slide. Yay! Also, 40% of young people who identify LGBTQ are rejected from their families and end up experiencing homelessness. That is a huge issue, to not be able to be accepted at home. This one, the second one, I want you to pay attention to this. 31 to 46%, so 1/3 to almost a half of young people who are exiting the foster care system will experience homelessness within 1 year of exiting the foster care system. So, this is exciting. So another thing that you should know is that 48 hours of leaving home, 30% of young people will be approached for human trafficking. This is across the board. This is rural. This is in cities. This is all over. And it turns out these are the numbers of here in Colorado. There are tons of young people who are experiencing homelessness in only 518 beds. That's emergency placements, overnight shelters. That is including transitional housing that we've talked about and permanent supportive housing beds. Only 518. And just in Denver alone, almost 1,000 young people were trying to access housing last year. So, as you can tell, this is an issue, and it does save money for the organization or for the community. But I have the clicker. Take it from me. No, it's okay. So, thank you all for listening.
We should give her another hand for poise. That was wonderful. Laura Walker needs to tell us a little bit about the challenges. Oh, she's not here? Did I get that wrong? Oh, I'm sorry. The commissioner is here, Commissioner Jody Shattuck McNally. One of the problems we've had is getting to know people who have a similar interest in dealing with this problem. We know they're out there and they've been working, and you're going to help us with that, I think.
Thank you. Yes, I am. I'm hoping to. So I apologize. Laura Walker, amazing staff member, had to leave for an emergency, and I want to just thank her for her work because she's been working tirelessly in this area for many years, and I know a lot of you know about her and her work. So I wanted to just say real quick, that picture of the meeting you all had a few years ago, I was there. Just so you know, I was there, and I actually served on the Human Services Commission for Loveland when we started that plan and working on rapid rehousing. And so I want to just say, as a resident, I've been working this as well as a person of faith, and now I appreciate the vote of confidence from you all that I get to continue this work to actually be a decision maker. So I started this conversation real quick as a commissioner because I saw a post about what you were doing, and I called the mayor and I said, wait a minute. You guys are talking about this. We're talking about this as the county, too. We're actually working on these transformational projects, and I see some of our amazing partners in the audience. And we, as a county, with our American Rescue Plan dollars, we've been trying to work together as a collaborative to identify these projects so we can do the most good with the resources in this really once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to do this. And so I said, well, we should not be working in silos. So I have asked, and I usually have community conversations with mayors every month, and we're having one with the mayor on mental health on May 7th at the county building, so you're all invited, and I have one in Berthoud this weekend. But I'm convening because I feel like that's a job as a county commissioner, is we convene and we bring people together because I believe we're better when we work together, and I think that is proven time and time again. And Larimer County is known throughout the state as doing great things together. And we're going to have a meeting on May 18th at the room at the House of Neighborly Service, and we're going to be meeting from 4 to 6, and I've invited several of the partners who are in this room, and you're invited, and we're going to connect all the people that are doing this work. And people are coming from Boulder and from our transformational projects. The mayor's going to be there and others, and we're going to invite you all to come so we can connect all the dots and bring all these resources together. So what we're doing at the county is also what you guys are working together, see what we can do to convene this together. And so I'm looking forward to that, and you can reach out to me. I will leave one of my cards here with my phone number and my email, and I really appreciate you coming together. It's just great that we can work this together. And I have to say, I want to thank Representative Basenecker for his work on the mobile home park. I waited 5 hours to testify on that bill. Not the last time. I guess I'll be looking to wait for another 5 hours to testify to support the great work that he's doing. And just want to thank you all. So thank you.
So, I've got the clicker. I'm going to put it down before I hurt somebody. Now the moment you've all been waiting for. After everything you've heard and everything you've seen, the one question on everybody's mind right now is, what can I do? And that is where I have your answers. Now, if you got a smarty smartphone, I know this is church, but you can pull it out. If you get a smarty smartphone, at least pull it on out. It's okay. I'll stand here and I'll wait and I'll stare at you till you do. Or if you got like one of those Trekkie phones, the flip phones, leave that in your purse. Grab a piece of paper and a pen. And what we're going to do is I'm going to give you a list of things that you can do. Number one, we're going to support our leadership. Okay? We're going to support our leadership. On May 18th, Commissioner Shattuck McNally is hosting another community conversation on this topic. So I want everybody to write down Wednesday, May 18th. And it's going to be at the Larimer County Loveland office, 200 Peridot. Did I say that right? Peridot? Oh, did it change? Because you didn't like the place? Did it not have the right color paint? Okay. Don't kick him out.
I don't name the room, but we're meeting there.
Okay.
And I thought they had the Light Center right there.
Oh, perfect.
On Loveland Light Center, and it's on the East 11, and we'll be 4 to 6. And I'll bring you some light snacks.
Yeah. Well, the most important thing is we want to show public support for a youth shelter in Larimer County, because Loveland must demonstrate We have to show our compassion, and we want to prove to America that we really are the sweetheart city. Did everybody get one of these? I know Deb passed these out. Did everybody get one of these? If you take your smartphone and you aim the camera at it, and you stand on one foot and close one eye, this is one of those QR codes, all right? What I want you to do is, I don't see anybody pulling their phone. I'm really not a good leader. No, there must be something about me that makes people just want to laugh at me and not do what I say. It's okay. It's all right. I love smiles. All right. One of our most pressing needs right now is for an emergency shelter for times of inclement weather. And the homeless risk life and limb. We've heard stories about that tonight. Homeward Alliance is trying to put together a list of congregations that on a rotating basis would be available as an emergency homeless shelter. If your congregation might be a candidate for doing this, we can put you in contact with Homeward Alliance. So please see one of us, anybody with one of these funny little badges, and see us after the program, and we'll get you connected. So by now, everybody's got a pen and paper and your smartphone out, because you're going to join Together Colorado, right? The most important thing is this: we are a faith-based community. We come together, but you don't have to be religious at all. Our aim is just to make sure that everybody gets a voice and is seen and is valued. And if every person in this room that joins Together Colorado, we're going to be able to let you know when things that you care about are happening. That way we can support our leadership and you can support this effort, because homelessness is not a political issue, it's a moral issue. And everybody in this room tonight believes that, because everyone's nodding their head, I can see it. You care about this or you wouldn't be here. And if we could get a youth shelf together and house our brothers and sisters, we don't want to see homelessness as something that's a punishment. Together Colorado is organized to make sure that Americans are just one bad hospital away from living in their car. And COVID has proven that over and over and over again. And so one more time, what I'd like you to do from 4 to... Where's that? There it is. Okay, so the community meeting on homelessness, we're going to support our commissioner. We're going to support our state representative. Let your congregation know if they're interested in becoming part of our rotating emergency shelter. And also, please join Together Colorado, because homelessness won't fix itself, and we can't wait for somebody else to do it. What you got in the basket? We can pretend this is church. You want to pass it around? That'll be kind of fun. Just you don't have to put any money in there, because I don't know, that might go for somebody's beer next door, because our local artist and star, Stephanie Silva, she's performing next door after tonight's event. Pastor Amy, will you come on up, dear?
Once again, thank you all for being here tonight, for taking the time, for hearing from leaders in our community, for uniting together hand in hand to care for all of our neighbors. We have prayed, we have sung, we have celebrated success, we have educated ourselves about things that are happening and what we can do, and we are going to go out and continue advocating for our neighbors. So thank you again for being here tonight. Bless you all.
And to close us out, my pastor from the United Unitarian Universalist. I didn't do that right. I'm so nervous.
Unitarian Universalist congregation.
I'm not gonna leave on my knees.
So my name is Laurel Leaford. I do serve as the pastor of the Namakwa Unitarian Universalist congregation. And our closing prayer is actually going to be a song. And this is a song called Lead with Love that is by Melanie D'Amour. And it's one where I'm going to ask you to stand as you're willing and able. We will sing the chorus in unison, and I think it's easy enough that you'll pick it up. And then the rest of it is call and response. And I'm also going to ask that if you feel inspired, you can clap your hands. So the chorus goes like this. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. One foot in front of the other, lead with love. One foot in front of the other, lead with love. One foot in front of the other, lead with love. Don't give up hope, you're not alone, you're not alone. Don't you give up, don't you give up, keep moving on, keep moving on. We'll put it a little higher, you gotta put one foot in front of the other, lead with love. One foot in front of the other, lead with love. One foot in front of the other, lead with love. One foot in front of the other, lead with love. I know you're scared, and I'm scared too, but I'm right here, right next to you. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. One foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. One foot in front of the other and lead with love. Lift up your eyes, and look ahead, and don't despair, The path is there, You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. One foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. One foot in front of the other and lead with love.
That's our program for this evening, folks. Please make sure that you fill out those forms, become a part of the change that you want to see in the world. Thank you to all of our dignitaries who came out here tonight. I saw Councilwoman Andrea Sampson in the back. Who else did I see? Oh my gosh. For all of you folks who do so many good things in our community, thank you for coming out tonight, and bless you.